Hey everyone, Tim Gillette here, Morningstar Jiu Jitsu, Denver, Colorado. And today we're going to work on our Granby rolls. How to get inverted, how to, a couple different exercises that you can do to kind of work on staying safe there and not put any pressure on your neck. And that's really what's important there to start with, all right? So the first thing we're going to do is a stretch. And this is kind of how I gauge where people's flexibility level is at with their back and their neck, and where they can balance. So number one, you're going to start on your back, and I want to bring my legs up over my head, and I want to just try to kind of balance right here a little bit, okay? And what I want to be able to do here is turn my head, because that means that the weight is on my shoulders and not on my head, right? So I can lift my head and turn side to side here. If you need, you can use your hands behind your hips right here, your back, to help hold yourself up. But what I want is to be able to turn my head, because now I know the pressure is not on my head or my neck, it's all across my shoulders. And that's what I want right now, right? So that's the first thing, is just working that stretch and just getting used to being right here. Again, once you don't need your hands back here anymore, now your hands can be up here, but I want to be able to make sure I can turn my head right here. Very important. Right? So that's step one. Once you're kind of getting comfortable there, you know you're not going to injure yourself, we're going to work on Granby rolls. So there's three styles kind of Granby rolls. There's one that goes, I always say, like a Ferris wheel, sideways. There's one that goes like a merry-go-round on this axis. And then there's one that's a little different, where you kind of spin on your back rather than on your shoulders. So we're going to focus on the first one here, which is the Ferris wheel, right? And this is our sideways Granbys. That's kind of what I call it. So first thing I want to do is start on my butt. If I'm going to roll this way, I'm going to tuck that lead leg underneath, and I am putting my toes onto the mat so I can push into the mat. And I want to do this to get my leg out of the way so I can fall to my side. Now, a big mistake people make here is they don't tuck this foot in enough, and it forces them to fall back. When they fall back, they can't actually do the roll like they want to, right? They end up falling here, and then when they turn onto their face. And we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to tuck that foot in, get my knee out of the way, and I'm keeping those toes dug into the mat a little bit. I like to tuck my elbow in. Some people like to put it behind their back. I like to keep it tucked in right here. And I'm going to lean forward and get my shoulder to the mat. So I'm here. Now I can tuck my chin, and I'm pushing off right here with my toes. And I want to get my hips up in the air, roll through, and now look where we are. We're in that exact same stretch position, but now I want to roll all the way to the other side. And I'm right back where I started, right? Now I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to tuck that foot underneath. My toes are digging in. I'm going to lean forward. I'm tucking that elbow. I'm driving off my toes here. I'm going to push off and get my hips up in the air. And now I'm in that inverted position right here where we did our stretches. And now I'm going to come back down to my hip and roll through. Right? So if I do it kind of more full speed, I'm going to roll through right there. Right? Tuck that foot under, drive off, roll through. Now, where I start to see people almost get it is they can get halfway through to that inverted position, but when they're coming down on the other side, that's where they kind of fall over, right? So what happens is they get here, but then their hip kind of leads the way down. And the hip hits the mat first, and then they have to kind of sit up awkwardly right there. So what I want to do is, I want to have my toes touch the mat first when I finish my roll. So I'm going to roll. And now look, my toes are going to touch the mat first. And now that allows me to control my descent, and I can end up back into that same seated position when I start. So I tuck the foot, elbow in, push off, roll, toes hit the mat, and that's what controls my ability to come back down into my seated position right there. All right, so again, we can go back and forth. All right, so that's our sideways Granby. We're going side to side. We're rolling kind of like a Ferris wheel, right? We're rolling like a tire. So the next one now is our rotating Granbys. And this is where now we're going to change our axis a little bit. We're going to be thinking more like a merry-go-round, turning in this way, okay? And when I do this one, I'm going to start facing one direction. When I finish, I'm going to be facing the opposite direction. So I'm going to make a 180-degree turn right there. So I'll do it right here. So I like to start out by posting one foot out, my left foot in this case, and my opposite arm, my right hand in this case, is going to be reaching through, and I want to get my shoulder to the mat. So I'm right here. So my head's on the mat, my shoulder's on the mat. Now I want to get my head tucked in. So I'm going to tuck in just a little bit more and kind of almost look up at the ceiling. From here, I'm going to roll right into that Granby stretch position again now, right? Now the trick here is, I don't want to end up on my butt, I want to end up back on my knees. So same thing, my foot touches first, but now I can just drop down to my knees. And you can see I rotated 180 degrees, and I kind of turned on a little bit different axis there. I almost did like a merry-go-round, right? If you're really flexible, you can basically walk your legs around the head. So I'm making a half a circle right there to rotate through. Again, the important part of this really is making sure you don't have that weight on your head and your neck. So it's always on your shoulders. You should never feel like you're crushing your neck in right there, right? So again, left foot out, right arm comes across. I'm going to tuck my head, and now my weight's on my right shoulder. I get into that inverted position, the Granby stretch position. I can turn my head to look where I'm going. That helps. Because I have no weight on my head, I can turn it. Now, my toes touch first, and that allows me to land on my knees right here. So, here, right there. And now we can go back the other way. Back and forth. Working on that rotating Granby. Again, you start facing one direction. When you finish, you'll be looking back the opposite direction. All right? So give that one a try. So give those two a try. The sideways Granby, rolling sideways, and the rotating Granby, making that 180-degree rotation. And remember, it all starts with being able to get into that Granby stretch, right? Where you're rolling up on your back, and you can get that weight distributed across your shoulders and not on your head and your neck. And if you can do that, that's going to make the Granby rolls much, much easier. And the main reason we really want to work on these is to be able to protect our neck in situations. You might be fighting off your back in jiu-jitsu, going for an arm bar, going for a triangle, and you're going to get kind of stacked up on your neck, especially if somebody's stacking into you to try to defend an arm bar. And you need to know that when you're there, you're safe. You're going to be able to move your head, you're going to be able to change your angles and move your shoulders around so that if everything collapses over the top of you, it's not going to roll right over your neck in a dangerous way, right? So you really need to be able to keep that weight distributed across the shoulders and be able to move that head so that you can roll and move around right there and really protect that neck when you're fighting off your back, all right? So work on these, very good Granby roll kind of exercises, but really work on getting into that stretch position and getting comfortable there. That's number one, all right? Take care, guys.